Yo, welcome back to the channel. The topic of today's video is too dumb not to fail. Quantitative easing was doomed from day one. No two ways about it. This financial crisis that's going to play out, I believe, in 2023 has been inevitable. There was never any avoiding it. Essentially, it was like being on the Titanic with a locked-on course where you couldn't change the course. And once you entered that course, there was no left or right turn anymore. It was, you can speed up, you can slow down, you can have sun, you can have rain, you can have wind, you can have a storm, but you're gonna hit that iceberg, and that is going to be the result. And so we were I want you to understand this was inevitable. It's not because of a pandemic. It's not because one round of stimulus was too big because of a pandemic, or because they just got it wrong, they didn't do enough, they did too much. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because in my country we didn't do 14 years of stimulus in the wake of 2008. We actually had good interest rates. It was only in the last few years they dropped interest rates too low, and that's when we went into a mega housing bubble. It was so silly. And we only did 2 rounds of, albeit massive, quantitative easing. I think they were 50 billion each round. I think it was 2 rounds. Too much anyway. But once you do that, yeah, I mean, look, quantitative easing worked in the short term. We all had jobs, everything was booming. When that money first went into circulation, it was crazy. Everything, and I mean everything, was booming. You couldn't get anything, you couldn't get staff. There was just, it was like everywhere was booked up. Even like tourism was in some regards busy when we had no international, our borders were shut. Quantitative easing works in the short term, but it's the long game where it can't work, because eventually, what did it do to our housing prices? It drove them up 50% in a year. 50% in a year is too much if you don't know. So, quantitative easing is responsible for driving up the real estate market, the share markets, the cryptocurrency markets, in my opinion, as well. Is that you've got all these people with all this money, I'll just throw it into something. Oh, look, I made money, I'll throw it into something even more. Nobody lost money much. From about, 2008, we had the crash, a lot of people lost a lot of money, and then from there, everyone just won. And even if it was like tough few years, like real estate was a tough market in New Zealand, 2012, 2013, 2014, and then it boomed. So if you just grind it away and you manage to hold in there, you did really, really well. So even like through the struggles, well, I'm glad I did that, because it all worked out in the end, but this was driven by quantitative easing. And so we've always been on this collision course. It just has amazed me how long this took to happen, because it really should have been obvious from the start. But you see, even if you sit down with someone and you explain all the logic of QE, they don't. I know this from experience. They don't care, because it hasn't happened yet, and you're not the chairman of some central bank with some big title. You're just some guy in a car. What do you know? But you just didn't have to be that intelligent to work out that dropping interest rates to zero, printing into oblivion, was to the detriment of the economy. Long term, it was making us feel good while our asset prices were going up, and then that goes away, and your reality has changed, and all you're dealing with is the debt. And then it's a big problem. Debt is a big problem. And now we have people still thinking the coast is clear, because Jerome Powell has said that the pace of the rate hikes, like the aggressiveness, how much they hike rates and over what period of time, may slow down. He didn't say it will. It could. It could be something to consider, because what does that matter? Because all you're doing is you're allowing inflation and this bubble to perpetuate eventually every time you hike rates, you are going to make the air come out of this bubble more and more. You're going to drive down all the asset prices that they spent trillions printing to pump up the price. And if they weren't prepared to let that happen, to let that collapse in 2008, why are they suddenly, after it's gotten such a much bigger problem, now they're just going to raise rates aggressively? See, I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to possibly try and do a central bank digital currency where they say, everyone trade in your 10,000 English rupees for one token, and then all the people are left worse off, and they try and have a reset, which is the Great Reset. It's a popular sort of topic at the moment. They'll try and reset the currency or something like that, because I think that the mess that they created is so horrific to clean up that if they do actually say and mean it, that they are going to clean up this mess for legitimately do what needs to be done in order to right the wrongs of the last 12-14 years, plus what led up to the financial crisis, really, because you're going that far back. The monetary policy has been wrong. The price of cleaning that up is just unfathomable. I mean, they must know this. I think that's why Jerome Powell, he says this cryptic language, or he says one thing and then he changes, because he doesn't know what to do. He knows the end game. He knows what's coming. He just can't tell you, because if he tells you, look, this is not going to work, and we're going to end up crashing the economy, and we're going to go into a depression. Like if he said, we are entering a financial crisis worse than the Great Depression, what do you think would happen to the stock market? Everybody would run for cash or some safe haven asset, and it wouldn't be stocks. It wouldn't be real estate. There would be an exodus out of the market, because people know from history that those who got out of the markets, before the Great Depression, cashed up, got out, they made millions of dollars in the wake of the Great Depression. Anyone who was left holding the bag was toast. It was terrible for those people. So he can't come out and say the truth. So he's got to kind of, he said this, now he said that, now we're doing this, he's just bamboozling the people, I think. Or he just doesn't know, and he's just saying, I don't know, how do I stop this? I can't stop it. Okay, well, how do I stop it happening as fast as I see it happening? How do I make it take 2 years to play out instead of 6 weeks? Or how do I make it bad, but not quite as bad, because I do it in a way where I engineer it to be not quite as bad, but I can't use the inflationary tools of the past. I have to use deflationary tools. I have to use credit tightening tools, which this market has not seen in a long time. How's he going to do it? Do you really believe that he can? Because I see the chances, the probability, zero, like the movie The Big Short, when Steve, what's his name, says zero. You have zero chance of pulling this off. Of raising interest. I just don't see it. But this is the path we're on, and I think we're going to go into next year where they stay on this path, and maybe they think, well, it's going to be bad. It's not going to be that bad. We've got a strong labour market or something. Everyone's got a job. It'll be fine, or it'll just be a short-lived problem. And I think as they march close to that cliff and go over that cliff, and they realise, oh boy, this is way worse than we thought, that all hell is going to break loose. So 2023, in my opinion, is going to be the worst, or the onset of the worst financial crisis. It's already started, in my opinion. It's just teetering on. We've had one compartment flooding. It's starting to spill over to the second, and that'll be late January, February next year. It'll go into compartment 2, March 3, 4, and as we get to the middle of next year, and the European winter and all this sort of stuff with power shortages, and the Christmas either is disappointing for retailers, but it's also going to still be more inflationary than your normal month because people are spending way more, even if they're trying to not spend way more. Fuel tax in my country is coming on. There's so many things that are working against, that are inflationary, that are not going to help the inflation numbers go down. So I want you to be prepared. I want you to take care of yourself and do whatever you can to just take some precautions going into next year. Take action to try and get through this crisis, because I believe that once we go over this cliff and people actually see the severity of the situation we're in, you realize, whoa, this is next level bad. And this could go on for a long time, so you've got to land on your feet as best as you can. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe to people who've already done it. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. It motivates me when I see a new subscriber. I want to put out more content. I've just been busy the last few days doing some stuff. So we'll get more content coming out in the future, and see you in the next one. Peace.